Get ready for some high-octane action, as the drivers take on the challenge of qualifying in Kyalami 2016.
Strap in, folks, because we're in for a wild ride.
Annie, the drivers are ready. Let the racing begin?
Yes, Mark, let the racing begin.
Danny Van Ruyen will be feeling confident starting from pole position.
They'll be excited at their prospects for this race.
Taking the second spot is Ryan Ludig. And in third place, we have Sean Olivier.
Putting that 2024 ATCM Group CVH Commodore into prime position for the race.
Starting just behind the front runners in fourth place is the determined driver, Dylan Bizagie. JP Brand will begin the race from the fifth spot on the starting grid.
Could we see a podium?
The green light signals the beginning of the race. As the drivers jostle for position, it's all about keeping their cool under pressure.
Precision is everything during these initial sequence. One wrong move could cost them valuable time or even force them out of the race.
This race will play out.
There are a few drivers with a point to prove, and a few with some grudges to bear. Will we see a clean race today?
The tension is heightened. Will will want to make a crucial mistake on the first lap.
It's always intense racing here at Kailami 2016. Hold on to your hats, folks.
All the drivers will be trying to take advantage of the pack whilst they're still bunched up. The stewards will be hoping that there aren't too many incidents for them to pick over when the dust settles on this one.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how this race unfolds.
The racing is normally closely fought here at Kyalami 2016. I think we are in for a cracking race.
Ready for racing here at Kyalami 2016. This is going to be good to watch.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Jonathan Geldenhuis is right on the heels of Ernest Heather, and we're in for a wild ride.
At this rate, Jonathan Geldenhuis and Ernest Heather are so close, they could share a cup of tea and a biscuit.
This is a thrilling battle as Jamie Ray Nichols edges closer to Jamie Van Westhuizen in a fight for the lead.
This is where every inch counts. Jamie Ray Nichols is pushing hard to close the gap on Jano van der Westhuizen. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Michelle Rust is closing in on Jamie Ray Nichols. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Dylan Bizagie is chasing Sean Olivier in P3.
Who will be able to maintain their pace and come out on top?
We got a close battle as Jonathan Geldenhuis closes in on Ernest Heather.
This battle between Jonathan Geldenhuis and Ernest Heather is so intense, you could cut the tension with a knife, or should I say, with a front wing.
The battle for 9 is heating up as Michelle Rust tries to catch Jamie Ray Nichols in P9. The pursuit is on. Chantal de Gabriel is closing the gap on Gary Fleming, determined to claim P12.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Chantal de Jaeger needs to stay patient and wait for Gary Fleming to make a mistake.
It's a battle of wills out there. each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other.
If JP Brand isn't careful, they might end up turning this high-speed chase into a synchronized spinning routine. And trust me, that's not a crowd pleaser.
Jean Masu is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. The gap is 0.3 seconds now. Jean Masu is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with JJ Dearden.
Looks like Dylan Visagi is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curves aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between—
Hold on a moment. I don't think that's the fastest way around Kyalami 2016.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race, they've been looking at a decent result.
Gary Fleming wants to find a way round Jean Masu. That won't be ideal for Dylan Visagi.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 8 kph out there right now.
The pressure is on for Chris Foley as they try to catch up to Chantel de Jager.
The mental game is just as important here. Chris Foley must keep their cool while putting pressure on Chantel de Jager.
What a move. Chris Foley has moved up to 11.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
Things are heating up as Dylan Visagi tries to close the gap to JP Brand.
The gap between them is now just over 0.3 seconds. Who will come out on top?
Every move counts now as Rian Schloss works to reel in Jean Masu and overtake for P16.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Rian Schloss needs to be careful not to overdo it.
Oh, this is getting intense. JJ Dearden is just a few car lengths behind Jean Masu.
I think they are going to take them.
This is what high-octane racing is like. Rian Schloss is breathing down the neck of JJ Dearden, not giving them any room to relax. An impressive showing from Rian Schloss, who has gained positions and left JJ Dearden in the dust.
Definitely, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Rian Schloss needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
JP Brand is holding 12, but Dylan Visagi is right on their tail. It's an intense battle for position as Dylan Visagi tries to outmaneuver JP Brand. This is edge of your seat racing. It's a tight race with Chris Foley in 12, just managing to stay ahead of Dylan Visagi in 13 by a margin of 0.2 seconds. Heartbreak for Chris Foley as they slip down the field.
Yes, but there's still plenty of race left. Chris Foley needs to stay calm and focused, and make their move when the time is right.
You know, Annie, I've always wondered, how do racing drivers stay so cool and collected under such immense pressure?
Well, Mark, it comes down to mental strength and training. Drivers often work with sports psychologists and practice techniques like meditation and visualization to help them stay calm and focused during high-pressure situations.
The gap between Ryan Ludik in second and Danny Van Ruyen remains over a second, but Ryan Ludik is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 14 minutes? The race is really heating up. JP Brand is hunting down Chantel the Jaeger with everything they've got. Great driving from JP Brand, who has just gained a place and moved up to 11th. Sean Olivier is on a mission, chasing Ryan Ludick, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. Melvin Gauss appears to be trying to find a way round Jonathan Geldenhuis that could make a move on them in Sunset.
I might have said this before, but dog, bone, you know the rest.
Fantastic move from Melvin Gauss, who has just gained a position.
That's what we like to see. Melvin Gauss is really showing their class today.
The tension is high. Who will come out on top in this epic showdown?
It's going to be a close one. Ernest Heather will have to push hard to create an opportunity.
Superb driving from Ernest Heather, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Seems like Chris Foley is getting in range of JP Brand. A great pass for Chris Foley as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, JP Brand has lost ground.
Yes, but Chris Foley can't rest on their laurels. They have to keep pushing to consolidate their position.
Oh my, Chris Foley has dropped down to 15. This is where the race gets really interesting. Chris Foley is closing in on Jean Massou. No room for error here. JP Brand is breathing down the neck of Chris Foley, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move. This is a thrilling battle as Jonathan Geldenhuis edges closer to Michelle Rust in their fight for P6.
The gap between them is just over 0.4 seconds. Can Jonathan Geldenhuis close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
Oh my, JP Brand has had an incident. Look at that, Jonathan Geldenhuis is caught on the tail of Michelle Rust.
Can Jonathan Geldenhuis close the 0.4 second gap and make a pass?
The crowd is on tender hooks as Ernest Heather in 12th chases after Chantel de Jaeger. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Ernest Heather find a way to catch up? The pursuit is on. Jonathan Geldenhuis is closing the gap on Michelle Rust, who currently playing P6. Jonathan Geldenhuis is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Michelle Rust to 0.1 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Jean Massou will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. The tension is building as Jonathan Geldenhuis trails behind Michelle Rust. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can Michelle Rust hold on, or will Jonathan Geldenhuis be able to close them down? They're still behind Michelle Rust and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. You can feel the tension in the air.
The drivers are all focused, putting everything on the line for a chance at victory, pushing themselves and their machines to the limit.
And let's not forget about the incredible machines themselves.
Absolutely, it's amazing to think about the kind of engineering and innovation that goes into making these vehicles. But it all comes down to the drivers, who have to be able to handle the power and speed. It's going to be thrilling seeing how this race turns out.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Jean Massue, who is currently in P13. But Ernest Heather is not making it easy, and the gap braking alert. Looks like that's a mistake from Jamie Ray Nichols. This could be costly. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Jonathan Geldenhuis is chasing Michelle Rust in P6. On a charge. Their split time shows they are up their pace. A tough moment for Jonathan Geldenhuis, who has just lost a place. Breaking update. I don't think that's the fastest way around Kyalami 2016. Jonathan Geldenhuis seems to be putting the pressure on Michelle Rust.
They need to keep it on the black stuff. You don't get points for driving over weeds, not in this game.
Racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
This is the moment where legends are made. These drivers will go down in history as the ones who fought tooth and nail for the top spot.
The battle for 10 is heating up as Chantel de Jager tries to catch Ernest Heather in P10.
With just 0.4 seconds between them, will Chantel de Jager be able to keep up the pace and make a pass?
It looks like Jean Massue is pushing hard to catch up to Ernest Heather. The gap is over a second, but Jean Massue is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Ernest Heather? A brilliant maneuver from Jean Massue, who has just moved up the field.
I can't argue with results like that. Jean Massue is really making their mark on this race.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed. It's a battle of wills out there, with Ernest Heather trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Jean Massue. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? The pressure is on for Dylan Bizagie as they try to catch up to Jonathan Geldenhuis. It's not going to plan for Dylan Bizagie. They are still behind Jonathan Geldenhuis and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
This is a tough situation for Dylan Bizagie. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
Fantastic racing on show here today, and it's not just the top drivers who are impressing us. Even the drivers at the back of the pack are putting up a good fight, battling it out for every position.
It's a testament to the level of competition at SRA. Even the smallest mistake can cost you valuable seconds, or even lead to a crash. But these drivers are up to the challenge, and they're giving it their all. It's clear that SRA really is the place to be for top-quality racing.
The race is heating up as Dylan Bizagie in 7th closes in on Michelle Rust. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
Absolutely. Dylan Bizagie in 7th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game.
The crowd is on tender hooks as JP Brand in 14th chases after Jamie Ray Nichols. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can JP Brand find a way to catch up?
Indeed, the tension is high as JP Brand tries to reel in Jamie Ray Nichols. But Jamie Ray Nichols is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can JP Brand find some extra pace to bring the fight to Jamie Ray Nichols?
Coming into Cheetah, the fight for sixth is heating up. Who will be the first to win?
If things go wrong between Dylan Visagi and Michelle Rust, they could be exchanging more than just paint, like maybe a strongly worded post-race chat.
The gap between Ernest Heather in 10th and Jean Massou remains over a second, but Ernest Heather is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 3 minutes?
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Jean Massou is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Ernest Heather in P10 doing everything they can to catch up.
The tension is building as JP Brand trails behind Jamie Ray Nichols. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can Jamie Ray Nichols hold on, or will JP Brand be able to close them down?
This is where experience comes into play. Jamie Ray Nichols has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But JP Brand is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the titans?
Breaking development. That won't be ideal for Jonathan Geldenhuis. It looks like Jamie Ray Nichols is pushing hard to catch up to JP Brand. The gap is over a second, but Jamie Ray Nichols is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on JP Brand? Ernest Heather is running 10th. They're trying to catch Jean Massou. The best laid plans of mice and men have Annie, but it's certainly not going to plan for Ernest Heather right now, as they are struggling to keep up with Jean Massou. It's a battle of wills out there, with Jamie Ray Nichols trying to outsmart and outmaneuver JP Brand. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? The gap between Jamie Ray Nichols and JP Brand is growing. It's now up to 1.1 seconds.
Jamie Ray Nichols is really going to need to push in Crowthorne to try and gain some ground on JP Brand before they disappear into the sunset.
The gap between Ernest Heather and Chantal de Jager is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Ernest Heather to even allow Chantal de Jager to get a look in. The gap between Chantal de Jager and Ernest Heather is widening. It's now up to 2.3 seconds.
Can they get together and reduce the gap?
Things don't seem to be going Ernest Heather's way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close to even be in. Hold that thought. Hold the phone. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. The race is heating up as Ernest Heather in 10th closes in on Jean Massou. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight.
It's going to be tough for Ernest Heather, as Jean Massou seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Ernest Heather pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
The crowd is on tender hooks as Michelle Rust in 7th chases after Dylan Visagi. The gap is just over a second, and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Michelle Rust find a way to catch up?
Absolutely. Michelle Rust in 7th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk it all while damaging their car.
Hold on a moment. Chantal Diego has decided to quit. Ernest Heather has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Jean Massou. I expect their only hope at this point is that Jean Massou makes an error.
They certainly aren't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon unless it's down to a mistake from Jean Massou.
Ernest Heather is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Jean Massou at the moment. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Sean Olivier, who is currently in P3. But Ryan Ludick is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Sean Olivier.
Indeed, the tension is high as Sean Olivier tries to reel in Ryan Ludick. But Ryan Ludick is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can Sean Olivier find some extra pace to bring the fight to Ryan Ludick?
Well, it doesn't look like JP Brand is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Chris Foley.
Anything can happen yet, and it usually does. I've certainly seen drivers come back from worse.
As we come into the final moments of this epic race, Danny Van Ruyen is in the lead. Can they stay calm and bring home the bacon?
They're not leaving anything on the table.
Checkered flag for Danny Van Ruyen, who crosses the finish line with a commanding victory. What a phenomenal performance, absolutely dominant today.
That was a true masterclass in driving from Danny Van Ruyen. You could see them making split-second decisions with total confidence, and it really paid off. What a performance.
Some might say that second place is the first loser, but Ryan Ludick certainly doesn't see it that way. They put in a phenomenal effort and should be proud of their impressive result.
Impressive performance. They pushed themselves to the limit for a fantastic second-place finish.
Excellent focus from Sean Olivier to secure a fantastic third place on the podium. With Peter Geldenhuys, Melvin Gauss, Dylan Visagi, and Chantal de Jager in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 16th. Michelle Rust, Jonathan Geldenhuys, Ernest Heather, and Jano van der Westhuizen in 7th, 8th, 9th, and 17th. Taking 10th, 11th, and 12th is JP Brand, Chris Foley, and Jamie Ray Nichols. Coming in 13th, we have Rian Schloss. Followed by Justin Vermeulen in 14th. Annie, the drivers are ready. Let the racing begin?
Yes, Mark, let the racing begin.
Danny Van Ruyen will lead the way from pole position.
But they can't let that advantage go to waste. They will need to stay focused and keep their eyes on the prize.
Ryan Ludick is placed in second.
Big things expected for Ryan Ludick today.
Coming in at third, we have Sean Olivier.
What can they do with that 2024 ATCM Group CVH Commodore from here?
Watch out for Peter Geldenhuis, starting from the fourth grid position in today's race. The race has begun, full throttle ahead. This first lap is crucial, as drivers need to establish their position early on.
The drivers will need to be aggressive but also patient. They can't afford to make any mistakes if they want to stay in the running for a podium finish.
It's a delicate balance, Annie. But the best drivers know how to find that balance and make it work to their advantage.
It's going to be an exciting first sector. I can't wait to see how this all plays out.
They say the early bird catches the worm, and Ian Schwab is pretty today, snatching up positions right from the get-go.
It's early days yet, but if they can keep up this momentum, they might just find themselves on the podium.
A great start to the race there from Jano van der Westhuizen. That's really gonna put the cat among the pigeons.
Yeah, great start. Now Jano van der Westhuizen just needs to keep it together and keep out of trouble.
I think passing is going to be difficult today here at Kyalami 2016, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on.
I am so excited at the prospects for this race. I can't wait to see the drama unfold.
It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today. Every move counts now as Ryan Ludick works to reel in Sean Olivier and overtake for P3.
You can see that car bouncing around as they ride the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
Oh, this is getting intense. JP Brand is just a few car lengths behind Jano van der Westhuizen.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. JP Brand is really walking that tightrope.
Things are heating up as Ryan Ludick tries to close the gap to Sean Olivier. Sean Olivier is in there like a rat up a drainpipe, Annie. Ryan Ludick is not going to be happy about that. Looks like we've had a few incidents out there.
Someone forgot to take their driving lessons. They're making more U-turns than a confused tourist.
Hilarious. I think they might need to call their GPS for directions. Maybe it can help them navigate the track. It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while. And JP Brand has just won the place from Jano van der Westhuizen.
Absolutely, Mark. But there's still a long way to go in this race, and JP Brand can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
Tough break for JP Brand, who has just lost a position.
That's got to hurt. JP Brand will be kicking themselves right now.
Ryan Ludick is on a mission, chasing Dylan Visagi, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. Peter Geldenhuis is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like walking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. One important aspect here is choosing the right braking place. Peter Geldenhuys needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
It looks like Rian Schloss is all over Peter Geldenhuys. I think they are gonna press them through Clubhouse Bend and try and press for a mistake.
For sure, Mark, that's exactly what I would be doing here, as Peter Geldenhuys is gonna be aware of him riding their bumper. There is no room for error in this battle.
This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory? Big gains for JP Brand as they move up the field, leaving Jano van der Westhuizen. Hold that thought. Hold the phone. Oh my, Danny Van Ruyen has had an incident.
Danny Van Ruyen is not going to be happy about that.
Looks like JP Brand is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can up.
Breaking news, folks. I don't think that's the fastest way around Kyalami 2016. The pursuit is on. Dylan Visagi is closing the gap on Melvin Gauss, determined to claim P3.
It's a game of strategy now as Dylan Visagi hunts down Melvin Gauss. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Peter Geldenhuys is chasing Michel Rust in P6. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Peter Geldenhuys gaining places and Michel Rust losing them.
Where there's a will, there's a relative.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Michel Rust will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. The race is really heating up. JP Brand is hunting down Justin Vermeulen with everything they've got.
Will JP Brand be able to make a move and pass Justin Vermeulen?
Look at that, Melvin Gauss is hot on the tail of Dylan Visagi.
Who will be able to maintain their pace and come out on top?
The battle for 14 is heating up as Justin Vermeulen tries to catch JP Brand in P14.
The gap is 0.4 seconds now. Justin Vermeulen is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with JP Brand.
This is a thrilling battle as Melvin Gauss edges closer to Dylan Visagi in their fight for P3. A setback for Melvin Gauss, who has just been passed. What a move. Melvin Gauss has moved up to 4th. The tension is building as Jean Massou trails behind Jamie Ray Nichols. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can Jamie Ray Nichols hold on, or will Jean Massou be able to close them down? Oh, this is getting intense. Ryan Ludick is just behind Melvin Gauss. Ryan Ludick appears to be losing ground on Melvin Gauss. They will need to pick up the pace a bit as they head into Liucop and see if they can get a good exit and gain some ground. Let's talk about tire degradation, and how does it affect the car's handling and what do drivers need to do to adapt to the changing conditions?
Tire degradation can significantly impact handling, Mark. As the tires wear, the grip reduces, and drivers need to adjust their braking points, cornering speeds, and throttle application to maintain control of the car.
Braking update. Looks like that's a mistake from Jano van der Westhuizen. This could be costly. Jano van der Westhuizen is in the pits. The action is non-stop as Ryan Ludick shadows Melvin Gauss through every twist and turn, determined to claim fourth. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Jamie Ray Nichols trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Jean Massue. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Jamie Ray Nichols close it enough to mount a challenge?
That's right. Jamie Ray Nichols in 10th knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Jean Massue is no slouch, and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will out there.
Wow, Ryan Ludick is really pushing hard to catch up to Melvin Gauss. There's blood in the water for fourth place. The gap between Chris Foley in 12th and Ernest Heather remains over a second, but Chris Foley is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 12 minutes?
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Ernest Heather is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Chris Foley in P12 doing everything they can to catch up.
The pressure is on for Ryan Ludick as they try to catch up to Melvin Gauss. It's a battle of wills out there, with Jamie Ray Nichols trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Jean Massue. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? Things are heating up as Chris Foley closes in on JP Brand. The gap between them is down to practically nothing.
You know what they say, keep your friends close, and your racing rivals even closer. Looks like Chris Foley is taking that advice to heart today.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Ryan Ludick is closing in on Melvin Gauss.
That driver is really pushing the limits. They're riding the curves and pushing the car to its limits.
Things are heating up as Jamie Ray Nichols tries to close the gap to Jean Massue.
This is where every inch counts. Jamie Ray Nichols is pushing hard to close the gap on Jean Massue. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed. Ryan Ludick needs to get more consistent. They have just put in a slower lap than Melvin Gauss. Huge shout out to the admins at SRA for making this all possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't be able to witness this incredible event.
That's right, Mark, and the excitement is high. I can feel it in my circuits. I mean, this is the kind of race that people will be talking about in the bar. We're witnessing history in the making.
The gap between Jean Massue and Jamie Ray Nichols is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Jean Massue to even allow Jamie Ray Nichols to get a look in. Ryan Ludick is giving it their all as they chase down Melvin Gauss in P4.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Ryan Ludick needs to be careful not to overdo it.
It's not going to plan for Ryan Ludick. They're still behind Melvin Gauss and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. Looks like Jamie Ray Nichols is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curves aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control.
The race is heating up as Melvin Gauss in fourth closes in on Dylan Visagi. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. Oh, this is getting intense. Ryan Ludick is just a few car lengths behind Melvin Gauss. Great driving from Ryan Ludick, who has just gained a place and moved up to fourth. Melvin Gauss has the pedal to the metal chasing Ryan Ludick. We're starting to see who really has the pace now in this race as Melvin Gauss is starting to climb all over the back of Ryan Ludick. Any closer and they may need to pop the boot. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Melvin Gauss is chasing Ryan Ludick in P4.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Melvin Gauss needs to stay patient and wait for Ryan Ludick to make a mistake.
It looks like JP Brand is pushing hard to catch up to Ernest Heather. The gap is over a second, but JP Brand is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Ernest Heather? Dylan Visagi is placed fourth at the moment. They are hoping to keep their distance ahead of Melvin Gauss, who is 0.3 seconds behind.
Dylan Visagi is doing a great job of defending in the lead, and Melvin Gauss is pushing hard to close the gap. It's an exciting race and it's not over yet.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Rian Schloss will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
It's going to be tough for Rian Schloss, as Jean Massou seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Rian Schloss pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Jamie Ray Nichols, who is currently in P10. But Rian Schloss is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Jamie Ray Nichols. JP Brand is running 12th. They are trying to catch Ernest Heather.
The gap between them is just over 0.4 seconds. Who will have the speed and skill to come out on top?
The tension is building as Rian Schloss trails behind Jean Massou. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Can Jean Massou hold on, or will Rian Schloss be able to close them down? It looks like Rian Schloss is making a move. The gap to Jean Massou is now down to 0.4 seconds. Jamie Ray Nichols is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes and missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
A great moment for Jamie Ray Nichols, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. Oh my, Rian Schloss is hot on the tail of Jamie Ray Nichols. As they come into barbecue, I'm sure they may have a cheeky peek up the inside. The pursuit is on. JP Brand is closing the gap on Ernest Heather, determined to claim P11.
I think they are going to take them.
This is a thrilling battle as Rian Schloss edges closer to Jamie Ray Nichols in their fight for P9. This is what it's all about, folks. JP Brand is in hot pursuit of Ernest Heather, who's just trying to stay ahead.
It's a thrilling.
Hold on a moment. That won't be ideal for Jean Massou.
Kyalami 2016 is always a test for these drivers, and sometimes that's the way it goes.
The battle for 8 is heating up as Rian Schloss tries to catch Jamie Ray Nichols in P8. The gap between Justin Vermeulen in 14th and Chris Foley remains over a second, but Justin Vermeulen is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 3 minutes?
Absolutely. Justin Vermeulen in 14th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
It's a battle of wills out there, with Rian Schloss trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Jamie Ray Nichols. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? It looks like we might get a battle between Rian Schloss and Jamie Ray Nichols. Things don't seem to be going Justin Vermeulen's way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. Good news for Justin Vermeulen, the gap to Chris Foley has decreased. It's now down to 0.8 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with JP Brand trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Ernest Heather. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can JP Brand close in enough to mount a challenge?
Indeed, the tension is high as JP Brand tries to reel in Ernest Heather. But Ernest Heather is not making it easy, maintaining a consistent pace. Can JP Brand find some extra pace to bring the fight to Ernest Heather?
They're going side by side, door handle to door handle. This is as close as it gets, folks. Who will have the courage to outbreak the others? It's not looking good for Justin Vermeulen. They're still behind Chris Foley and the gap is increasing. They're gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. As a former racing driver, Annie, how challenging was it to adapt your driving style to account for tire degradation throughout a race?
It was a constant challenge, Mark. Tire degradation can change the car's balance and handling, so drivers need to be versatile and adaptable. It requires continuous adjustments to driving techniques and a keen understanding of the car's behavior.
Justin Vermeulen wants to get into Chris Foley's slipstream. It looks like Chris Foley is pulling away from Justin Vermeulen. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through mineshaft. It's all about consistency for Sean Olivier, who is currently second.
Absolutely, and they need to keep driving with determination to stay in that position.
Look at that, Justin Vermeulen is hot on the tail of Chris Foley. The gap between Justin Vermeulen and Chris Foley is widening. It's now up to 0.8 seconds. What do you think, Annie? Are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during a race?
There are several factors, Mark. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
It looks like Ryan Schloss is pushing hard to catch up to Jamie Ray Nichols. The gap is over a second, but Ryan Schloss is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Jamie Ray Nichols? The gap between Ryan Schloss and Jamie Ray Nichols is growing. It's now up to 1.3 seconds. I love being here at Kyalami 2016. What an awesome place to be witnessing these titans of the track breaking development. Oh, my Ryan Schloss has had an incident.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race, they'd been looking at a decent result.
The crowd is on its feet as Justin Vermeulen chases down Chris Foley through Cheetah. The best laid plans of mice and men have Annie, but it's certainly not going to plan. Breaking update. Ryan Schloss is pitting. Every move counts now as Justin Vermeulen works to reel in Chris Foley and overtake for P11. On the final lap now, and Danny Van Ruyen looks like they might just wrap up this win. And that, folks, is how it's done. A solid performance and great win from Danny Van Ruyen. What a drive from Sean Olivier, securing a great second place finish.
Strong work securing second place. Well done.
What a race from Ryan Ludick, showing their skill and determination for a great third place finish.
What a drive, well-deserved spot on the podium with that performance.
Finishing 4th and 5th is Melvin Gauss and Dylan Visagi. In 6th, it's Peter Geldenhuis. Michelle Rust takes 7th. 8th and 9th sees Jamie Ray Nichols and Ernest Heather, with JP Brand in 10th. Jonathan Geldenhuis end in 11th. 12th and 13th is Chris Foley and Justin Vermeulen. Ryan Schloss claim 14th.